Oh my gosh, Wilma, if you're not awake, she will wake you up for sure. Wilma has been an energetic, that's an understatement, Toastmasters volunteer since 2011. She has held most club offices. Probably like me, I've done everything except treasurer because don't let me handle money, and competed in contests through the district level. Dynamic speaker. Wilma has served District 55 as club coach, TLI and conference presenter, and conducted 2 youth leadership programs. She has earned the District 55 Club President Award, multiple Triple Crown Awards. For those of you who don't know, that's at least 3 educational awards in a year, in a Toastmasters year, and Star Awards for education and marketing. She is also a District 55 elite member and served 3 terms as the district chief judge at contests. She achieved her distinguished Toastmasters designation in 2021. Upon placing second in a District 55 evaluation contest, so she's a pro at this, Wilma Igwe was one of the 3 district evaluation champions in her first Toastmasters club. Evaluations, she has many superpowers, but evaluation is her Toastmaster superpower. Wilma says that her greatest achievement are the 3 men and a lady that she released into a world that really needs more people like them. Please help me welcome and give it up for animated and audacious Wilma Igwe, distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Grace. Your check is in the mail, girl. In the mail. Listen, can you see my presentation? You should see a big sign says Toastmasters where leaders are made.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
I am. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here today. And let me start my little timer because I can be windy. As in Wendy, W-I-N-D. I can never be Wendy. Never mind. Anyway, I thank you so much for this opportunity to present on evaluation. And like she said, I feel that evaluation is my superpower. That's the one thing that I can't believe it, but I do it. And I seem to get a lot of respect for it, or requests to say, hey, give me some feedback on this. And then I realized that's the nature of my work. I am in Toastmasters not for professional reasons, but for interpersonal reasons. I'm all about interpersonal communication. I know that I can be a lot. That means that giving feedback at some times was painful to the recipient because I could be harsh, or I could be insensitive, or I could give irrelevant information because I hadn't thought through what I was doing. So evaluation is something that I absolutely love, and I am just, let's see here, super excited about being here today. That's my little clicker. You can see my presentation? Okay, all right. For some reason, I couldn't see it for a second there, pardon me. But we're gonna be talking about the Equipped Evaluator. I'm gonna do a little introduction, that's been done. And we're gonna talk about evaluations, terms, tools, qualifications, equipment. And I tend to like things that I can relate to everyday life. And we'll do a little exercise. The exercise will actually be a table topic and then a table topic length evaluation or 2. Be ready. Somebody's going to have to raise their hand and say, hey, I'll do it. I'm ready for you. And then we'll get down to the nuts and bolts. Evaluation is, for me, about equipping, and the purpose of this particular presentation is to equip our club evaluators, which is basically every single Toastmaster, District 55 and beyond. We have to be equipped to build better speakers who become better leaders. Toastmasters is where leaders are made, and we can't build better leaders until we teach them and build them as speakers, as presenters, as communicators. So here's my question, and this is where everybody gets to chime in and throw words out there. What is in your toolbox? At your home, you have a toolbox, a junk drawer, a shoebox under the bed or behind the washer. What is in your toolbox, your everyday toolbox? Give me something.
Pliers.
Pliers. Ooh, yay. I just went to the dentist. I know about those. Okay, keep going.
Screwdriver.
Screwdrivers. Give me something else. Something off the wall, just off the wall.
Duct tape.
Duct tape. Yay, duct tape, right. And actually many kinds of tape, because you see the duct tape, the blue painter's tape, the masking tape, the medical tape. Depends on what you're doing in your life. What's something else that's in your toolbox? Something that nobody else would have in your toolbox. In their
Sandpaper.
Torch.
Wait, say
Confidence.
that again. I heard someone say sandpaper and
Propane torch.
propane torch. That sounds like fun. Okay.
Band-Aids.
Knowing where your toolbox is important.
Exactly. Learning what a toolbox is, because I was going to say, and I've said this before, in my toolbox, kitchen utensils. I am the gadget queen. When I got a cool grater I got a grater for cheese. I got a grater for zesting, and I got one of those fancy graters for ginger. I'm a grater Mohican. I got that. And then I also have more chopsticks than any 12 restaurants in your city. I kid you not. I have a chopstick to wear for every outfit. I have it for every dish, every occasion. I eat salads, cheeseburgers, hot dogs. I eat everything with chopsticks. I love chopsticks. I even have chopsticks for cooking and stirring my sweet tea. Big long ones. I am a chopstick person. So here's what you know about tools. Everybody has them, and everyone has those that are unique to them. Evaluation presentation should be the same way. You have to tailor your evaluation. We cannot push people, mold people into this little box and say, this is how you do this, and any other way is just wrong. That's not the way it works. I like my chopsticks. I like using a platform shoe as a hammer sometimes. Sometimes I don't want to deal with the hammer. I want to just tap it with the shoe, put it back on, and keep it moving. We use our tools the way that is effective for us, that brings about a desired result, a desired outcome. I looked up, because you have to do some research to have some credibility, which to me sounds like going back to high school, but okay. I had to look up, what is an evaluation? Because we do it, we see it in every meeting. We have an evaluation contest. We're all about evaluating, and sometimes our evaluations come across as a judgment or as something else. Vocabulary.com simply defines it as an appraisal of something to determine its worth or fitness. It's an appraisal. I love that word. Or at a government website in Australia, I thought this was so cool because they use so many big words. Systemic process of assessing what you do and how you do it to arrive at a judgment about its worth, its value, or its merit. Every year in most companies, there's going to be an evaluation of your performance. Every year on an anniversary, there may be an evaluation of your relationship. There may be an evaluation of what you're doing in school. If you have fitness goals, you have a period where there will be an evaluation. Am I on the mark? Am I growing? Am I shrinking? If that's what the goal is. Am I getting stronger? What am I doing? And am I doing whatever the task is? Am I performing in a way that provides the desired results? Evaluation, that's what we're looking for. So when it comes to appraisals, our appraisal tools, and I say our, these are tangibles and intangibles. It can be personal, or it can be at work or in your day-to-day life. Your tangibles, always people, human resources. That's first and foremost. You got people. In your club, you may have project information, or at work, or in your relationship, there's a project you're working on. There's a goal you're trying to reach, objectives. You have content. You have subject matter. technology. Then you have a venue. This venue, for instance, meeting online in a virtual environment, meeting in an office, meeting at Denny's in the second booth, having a cup of coffee to say, hey, this is where this hurts, or this is where I see where we can have some improvement on the way we're relating to each other or to our club or to our friends. This can work this way. You have a venue and an event. Intangibles, which are always challenging. Personal interests. There are people in your club that you don't want to evaluate because you know they're going to talk about something you don't understand or you don't feel comfortable with, or it just has that yawn factor for you personally. I mentioned a gentleman who was in one of my former clubs, and he gave a presentation. He was a computer guy, military and computers. Okay, I still have a collection of ink pens and I like to write things down, but he's all tech. And he went into programming and made a whole presentation. He said, I'd like your feedback on my presentation on programming and computer languages. And he talked about the ones and the zeros, the computer. To me, it was like, dude, if this isn't, I need something more like tic-tac-toe. I need X's and O's. He said, then pretend that that's what it is. And I had to evaluate this going, I don't get it. But as I listened to him intently, with the understanding that he needs my feedback and he needs relevant feedback, I was able to say, Charles, this is what I see, this is what I heard, and this is how to elevate that for the next time you make that presentation. And that's what we're doing as evaluators. We're trying to give you the feedback that you need to improve that presentation for the next time you make it. And there may not be a next time, but that's not our problem. That's not our concern. We're saying this is how to make it better. Knowledge, our personal and our tribal knowledge. Tribal knowledge is very important. At my work, I'm in customer support. Customer support, I deal with escalations. Nobody comes to me unless something is royally wrong. Yesterday, actually, I got my first cussing out in a long time, complete with ugly words and everything. And I sit there and I'm like, there's something in me that has to laugh at the moment, not laughing at a customer who's that frustrated. I get irritated when a customer is that frustrated because often it means that they haven't been heard. I've heard people say, if they're angry and rude and tacky and nasty and ugly and yucky, then I'm not going to listen. I'm like, that's why they got there in the first place. They needed to be heard. They needed to be understood more times than not. And sure enough, at the end of this conversation with this woman, I said, okay, she had a list of demands, a laundry list. And I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'll return these things. I didn't worry about the big things she wanted done with. I just dealt with the little bitty thing. I will return this particular product. I'll get you a label. I'll send it to you. I'll follow up. Okay. And she said, well, fine. And then I said something that actually made me go, you got to write that down because I'll forget. And I said to her, Miss Lady, just so I can be sure that you are heard and understood in ways that are relevant to you, I'm going to do this. And she got really quiet to the point that I had to say, are you still there? Yes. She said, that's the nicest thing anybody has said to me in weeks. And I said, what? And she said, that you want to understand and you want to hear me. You want me to feel that. She said, if you can do that. In the process, I saved an amazing sale, which I was so excited about. And she said, just do that. I'm sorry about the way I talked to you. I said, I understand. You're frustrated. You are angry. I don't take it personally. How many times will you see that where someone says just that thing that you need to hear to feel heard, where you feel like I now am in a position to progress? That's what your evaluation does. You take that member, that speaker, that presenter, and put them in a position where they can take one more step up, one step up. They progress. Of course, your personal experience, your comfort levels, and then more than anything, your integrity and credibility, meaning you've been there before. Some people call it empathy. I took an empathy test and I understand that I am not empathetic at all, which I think that was a cheap test. But what am I if I'm not empathetic? I try very hard to be logical and realistic. I'm not the only one. I'm not going to walk in your shoes because I got shoes on my own and they're uncomfortable sometimes. So, and you wear your shoes, I wear my shoes, and we will walk together. But when it comes to empathy, sometimes it comes out in a form of, I'm going to respect you and I'm going to give you something you can use to the best of my ability. It may not be your tool. You may not like chopsticks, but this is what I have to offer. If you don't want to eat with them, use it to stake a little plant that's growing kind of wonky. It's going to be useful to you somewhere, right? Right. And then, of course, we have to deal with our social and our cultural biases. We live in a time where we hear that a lot. So, enough said about that. Any questions so far or comments? And just so you know, Grace or Jason, anyone, I can't see the chat. Something happened and blew up on my computer. So I can't.
Jason's got you. Jason is your chat monitor.
Oh, okay, there you go. I thought he was. Okay, but Jason, is there any questions or does anyone have a question? Or you can just scream it out. I can hear you. I'm going to sit. Thank you so very much. And next. Now let's talk about your evaluation toolbox. I will tell you that I found something that was, wait, let me go back to that. I found something that was very interesting online with the new pathways and with the evolution of our education program. One of the things that I did was purge my bookshelves and shelves of a lot of the paper and the old things. However, there's some things that were very, very useful. But the one thing I didn't find was, well, the one thing I did find rather, was an evaluation form. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is amazing. It has amazing information. And I found out that actually Toastmasters International does have a module. It is a 2-hour presentation on the art of evaluation. It's downloadable. It is for purchase, but it has some really cool information in it. And I think it seems to me to be a really good investment. But I'm here for you. And I just want you to know that some of these ideas and some of these came from the Toastmasters International Art of Effective Evaluation module. When it comes to our evaluation tools in our clubs, every club has a culture. Every club has a history, a standard. There are some clubs that are enormous with over 75, 80, 100 people. And then there's some that are very small who
Listen, can you send text that the information to me? I can text on this grab.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Well, that was not me. Okay. I was like, there's a slide at the end. Okay. But one of the things in our clubs, every club has its own culture, has its own vibe, atmosphere, has its own specialization, for instance, and culture. Culture is probably the best thing about it. But in our clubs, generally speaking, we have an emphasis on education. When it comes to evaluation, that is the one tool that we use to educate our members. How you're going to be a better communicator, a better speaker. There's an emphasis on learning to use and access Toastmasters programs and modules to improve yourself on an individual basis, but also your club. Hence, Eva's absolutely magnificent presentation on pathways. She's taken the sting out of it, the fear, the worry, and making it something that is approachable and useful to us. There is a standard of effectiveness in our clubs. We want our evaluations to be effective. They're not just another mini speech that we're giving to get credit for, but they're actually there to be used to educate, but to be effective not only for the speaker, but to our members or members of the audience. Clubs also take responsibility for growth. That's why we have the DCP. You know, you can determine the health of a club based on how they're doing in their DCP, which is the Distinguished Club Program, which means you are meeting certain metrics. You have level 1 speakers, you have level 2 speakers, you have DTM candidates and speakers and presenters. So you want to make sure that people are growing, that they're getting a return on their investment in Toastmasters, a return on their time and on their money. One of the other things that we have in our clubs is benefits. We have benefits and we provide those benefits through evaluations, appreciation, and rewards. Do any of you still give the ribbons, best speaker ribbons, best table topics ribbons? Some of you may do that. Some clubs have done away with those, but there's a way to give a reward or show appreciation. Hey, this is what you did, and this is what you did well. A positive evaluation, when you fill out that form and hand it to them, whether it's virtual or digital or in paper. Appreciation and rewarding them for their efforts. We also have a positive, open, and creative opportunity. World champion of public speaking, District 55 zone, Luisa Montalvo, once was in an evaluation contest. And she came out with a clipboard. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. She came out with a clipboard and she gave her evaluation like a mechanic would give an evaluation of what's going on with your car. It was so clever. It was so clever. And she was like, this is what I see under the hood, and this is what this is going to do, and this gadget does that. And she made it, if you had anything to do with an automobile, you understood what she was saying. If you didn't, you still understood what she was saying. And I was like, man, that is the coolest thing ever. She even had a little cap and had the little onesie that mechanics wear, the little coveralls. And it was amazing. And it was so different and so unique. I've heard people do an evaluation singing it, singing different sections of it, because in the speech, it was about music and it was about singing. Anytime you can tie your evaluation to the speaker's goals and to the speaker's presentation, it makes it that more personal to them. So it was absolutely wonderful, and we have that opportunity. Then, of course, again, the culture of integrity and accountability. We are accountable, and we show integrity, honesty in our feedback that we're giving, and our gracious way of accepting it, or at least accepting what is useful to us. For speakers, your tools, the methods for improvement is contained in an evaluation, or should be. There's a method for improvement. No matter how good your speaker is, or your speech was or is, there is always room for something to be polished a little brighter, to be tuned a little tighter, so that, again, you are doing well for the next time you present. Whether you're a distinguished Toastmaster or whether you are just coming in and this is only your 4th meeting, you have the opportunity to improve. Speakers also have to have the consideration of their needs and of their wants. I need to deal with this particular speech presentation problem. How do I handle being nervous, not fidgeting with my shirt, my ring, or not pacing back and forth, or doing what I call the hatchet job, when you're speaking and you keep doing this over and over. I'm telling you this. I know that one personally. Waving the hands about. How do I bring myself into a place where I'm not my own distraction? I'm not getting in the way of my presentation. That's what I need. That's what I want. Then, of course, speakers have to make advanced preparation, and so does the evaluator. What does that look like? Advanced preparation is getting ready to make your speech. It means writing down some notes, drawing an outline, practicing to the point that you know it or can do it without the notes. But if you don't, at least where you're still conversational with your audience, where you can still pay them attention and not focus on your notes, but make sure you're focusing and giving equal time and attention to your audience. Meeting with your evaluator beforehand so that they know what your goals are, what path you're on. Is this supposed to be humorous, or is it supposed to be more research and a little more serious? You want to make sure you make the advanced presentation as an evaluator and as a speaker. And then relevant feedback. Relevant feedback. Avoiding the nitpick. Well, I think you should wear a tie for that. Okay, well, that's fine, but that's not helping me grow. That's something you can tell me after the meeting. You shouldn't have worn shorts today, or maybe, your hair gets in your face. Okay, if it does cover my face, then that's something we can talk about. That's cosmetic, but let's talk about the presentation. Let's talk about the speech. Was I organized? Did I deliver clearly? Was I understood? Give relevant feedback. And do that with the understanding that your people, your audience, is also receiving feedback. Then, of course, acceptance. Accepting people who are different, who look different, dress different, but they're there to learn, just like you, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, in learning how to be better at what they're doing. And then, of course, we go back to the culture of accountability and, of course, integrity. Any questions so far?
No questions so far, Wilma.
Beautiful, beautiful. I like acronyms, tools to use, and I came with the acronym EQUIP. In order to be effective at what you're doing as an evaluator, the first thing that you have to do is make sure that you examine and edit. Examine you got to meet with your speaker and examine what are their goals. How can you say something that's going to be relevant to that person and relevant to your club or to your contest or to your audience? Examine what their needs are. Also, examine your own biases. If you're asked to speak or evaluate on a topic you don't understand, should you recuse yourself? Ask someone else to, hey, I'm not comfortable with that, can I? Well, or you don't have to worry about the topic. When I had to evaluate Charles, I know nothing about ones and zeros. I don't know anything about computer programming, but I do know a little bit about, okay, I like the way he said that. That was a phrase that I understand. That was a term that I understand. Or I like that he's bright and light about this. He's added humor. I can actually find something that I can relate to. So examine yourself and be open to understanding that this is a new adventure for you, even if it's something that you don't understand completely. Edit your biases, as well as what you're going to talk about. An evaluation is 3 minutes, 30 seconds. 3 minutes, you have to give them something that they can grow with. Ask questions. Ask your speaker, for instance, hey, what do you want me to emphasize on here? The project says this is what you're trying to do. Is there anything in particular? Well, yeah, I have a young man in my club now who is a new attorney. And he said, I'm making a presentation. I want you to act like we're in court. You're on the jury. These are my opening arguments. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm on the jury. I've been on the jury before. I can do this. He gave the story. I gave the feedback. It was absolutely wonderful. And it was relevant to him. I asked questions though. Understand not only how these topics make you feel, and I'm sure in many of your clubs, there are subjects, there are speeches that are coming about that are political, that may be religious or faith-based, that may have a cultural bent to them that makes you kind of bristle a little bit. And that's okay. Bristle and evaluate anyway, and do it fairly. Because sometimes evaluation requires a modicum of courage tempered with kindness. Insight through eyesight. That means using phrases that keep you on track. And I say eyesight because I saw you walking and paying more attention to the left side of the room than the right. How would I resolve that? Walk here, pivot, look at that group. Walk here, pivot, look at that group. Stand here and look at this group. In other words, tell them what to do to make it better, to deal with that. I saw this, I heard this, I saw that. Or this made me feel a little uncomfortable. Did you mean for this to happen? You can ask a question during the evaluation. And no evaluation is complete. No evaluation is valid. Yes, bold talk from me. It's completely invalid if you don't promote your speaker. Promote, i.e., elevate that person, build them up to doing better. Give them something that they can work for, take that next step up and be better. It's not just getting points, not just trying to make a level. It's about, am I making the level, getting those grades, and am I getting better? Help them get better. Promote them. Promote them from here to here to here. Got it? Excellent. Tools to lose. And again, I thank Jeff Puckett for helping me break this down in the presentation. My presentation is a work in progress, but I love this. And that is things that we want to scrap in our evaluations. Number one, soapboxing. Soapboxing is where you get on, when you think they're on a soapbox and you get on a soapbox and rebut what they say. You know, I think that this political party is that way, or I think that when I was a kid, this is the way I think the program should work. These things, this is not a time for you to disagree with the speaker's points. Evaluation is never about disagreeing with content. Toastmasters does not allow us or give us the opportunity to disagree with content, at least not as an evaluation. It is about teaching them to get better. How do I teach you to make an objectionable speech, an objectionable point, but get good at it? I want you to be effective and smooth, because sometimes in real life, feedback is not agreeable. Help them be better. Don't take that time to refute and harp on their points and their meanings. Teach them to do better. Cliches. There are certain things in Toastmasters that have become almost cliche. Vocal variety. What is vocal variety? Just say what you want them to say. During the poignant parts of your speech, I would want your voice to get softer. And when you're excited and you swam the marathon, did the big swimming, running a marathon or swimming across the channels, I expect there to be the tiredness. Oh, it was so taxing. I want to hear the exhaustion. Vocal variety, we have it. Everybody's vocals are variable. But you want to make sure that you're giving them information that they can use. Speak louder here, speak softer there. Slow your pace. Pause just enough to help us anticipate what was behind the door. or whatever you're going to say. Avoid the cliches, give real solid, plain talk. And also you understand that sometimes you're dealing with different cultures who don't have a clue about what the jargon actually means. Make it plain. Recapping. That means getting up and retelling or rehashing the speech. Do not give that story. We just heard the story. How do I make it better? How are you going to build me up so that I can present this story or this toast at the next wedding or at the party? Or how are you going to build me up? Don't tell me what I just told you. Tell me how to do it better. That means focus on giving them, the speaker, the tools to become brighter and more effective. About me. How many times have you heard a presentation that began with an evaluation presentation? You know, I remember doing this project, and when I did this project, I remember feeling so nervous. And I remember, though, that the evaluation that I got talked about these things. And then suddenly, your speaker sitting there going, yeah, I understand that was your history and your experience, but I need you to tell me how I did. But 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes into the evaluation, we're still talking about how I felt when I did the same project. That's cheating your speaker out of his opportunity or her opportunity to grow, to polish. Don't make it about you. Focus on that speaker. They need your attention. And lastly, don't patronize. Patronizing is what happens when you have a really good speaker. And it's intimidating. It's a response to intimidating. What can I say? You're already so good. I really can't find anything to make you improve. I can't think of anything to make you improve. Before you ever go there, make sure that you have listened and given them your full attention. You've watched them. You're listening. You're hearing them. Find something to give them, something to say. Find that tool in your toolbox to make sure that that speaker leaves with 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things they can do better. Consider slowing down on these parts. Be mindful of where your hands are. For instance, putting your hands in your pocket was a little distracting. Put your hands out front or over to the side. If they're using a prop, you know what? You may want to make your prop a little smaller so it doesn't distract or detract from your presentation. If they're doing something, for instance, in PowerPoint or making visual presentation speeches, hey, this is what I saw on that particular slide. There was a couple of slides that weren't very clear. If you sharpen the focus and take out 1 or 2 pictures, that would be more effective and help your audience follow along. Find something. Don't patronize. No one is so good that you can't give them feedback. And I don't care if this is your first evaluation or your 51st evaluation. Everyone has room to get better. And as an evaluator, you're building a better speaker. Any questions? We're good? Cool. So here's what, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, this is Emily. I have one.
Sure, go for it.
Be a very good, effective evaluator when you get sucked into the speech and then you forget that you're supposed to be an evaluator. And it's like, oh my God. Are there any advice that you have for that?
Yes. Shake yourself out of that. It's, you know, I can imagine that being like, it's like being starstruck. It's like being starstruck. That becomes a part of where the advanced preparation is most important. You know, as an evaluator, you know ahead of time, even if it's 5 minutes ahead of time, you know who you're going to evaluate. Can you imagine being in a club and a okay, Mike Carr is your club member and you have to evaluate him. Or Luisa Montalvo is in your club and you have to evaluate her. That would be really easy to go, but you're so good. You guys have, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? No, 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 no. You look at them and you say, ooh, 2 legs. They put on their pants, 1 leg at a time, just like me. We about to do this thing. And you find something to help them grow. Because I will tell you this, and this is me speaking as a grandmother. Whenever I hear someone say, I'm so intimidated, I can't evaluate you, or, oh my gosh, I'm so into your speech that I couldn't evaluate you, what that tells me is that we have gone into our selfishness. I'm not going to evaluate you because I'm just going to take it all in for myself. And I'm not going to give you anything. That's what toddlers do. Toddlers are not Toastmasters. We are going to say yes, and it sounds harsh for me to say this, but when we can't give feedback to someone who's asking us for it, that means we're not doing our job. And if we're not doing our job, we should be fired. So instead, let's be fired up and
I like
say, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I was saying I like that. And even as you're talking, I'm thinking about, well, I have to develop a different mindset as an evaluator. It's almost like I have to train my mind. Hey, I'm coming into this as an evaluator. Remove the
Yes.
distractions. Come in as that is your role, no matter who the speaker is. That is your role.
Yes, because they're coming, the speaker has prepared. They're like, okay, I got this speech. I'm practicing. I'm working on it. I want to do good for contests. I want to do good at work. I want to do good, whatever. I'm about to propose and I got to tell this person why I think that why I think I'm the spouse of the year and they should just, yeah, take me home to mama. And then she says, oh my gosh, that was just so pretty. Oh my gosh. No, 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 no. Because again, to do that is to deprive them. Now, trust me, been there, done that. But I will, splash some water on and say, whew, all right, that was great. And I will hem and haw and ooh and ah after the meeting is dismissed. But I gotta tell you how to do this better. And in those situations, sometimes you only can come up with one thing and just let it be. I had to evaluate somebody I had a crush on one time. I was like, oh my gosh, he is so cute. If I were 40 years younger. And I was like, no, I wanted to just say, hey, this is how you're going to be better at this. And this is how you're going to take this to the next level. This is how you're going to elevate. They want to elevate their quality, and it's in your hands to help them with that. So please do that. But just so you know, I want to, and I love that question, but just so you know, if you've ever been in a meeting where a speaker did not get adequate feedback, did you know that protocol is that the general evaluator should evaluate that speaker? If you get and he's evaluator 1, come up and they talk about, they make it about themselves, or they don't give any relevant feedback. They just hem and haw and make a new story. The general evaluator, as a point of order, should say, I would like to give some additional feedback for Speaker Joe, and this is what it is. Be sure to do these things. And then he can explain, or he or she can explain themselves later to that speaker, but speakers have to have the feedback. And remember that evaluators are speakers. They're going to come in one day and need that feedback. No, be fair. Yeah, don't get swayed. Anybody else? Any other questions? You're awesome. Thank you. So here's what we're going to do. Somebody think of Jason, you're a good, and don't give me no chicken cross the road stuff either. I need a table topic. Here's what's going to happen. I am going to make and give me a 2-minute thing or whatever it is. I'm going to make a table topic speech. And then I would like at least 2 of you to give me an evaluation, a 2-minute evaluation. We good? Ready? Jason, shoot me down.
All right, Wilma. If you had to change one thing about your hairstyle, what would it be?
Hold on.
Great gestures.
Thank you, Jeff. If I had to change one thing about my hairstyle, it would be length. Over the years, I have gone through all the crazy things that you go through when it comes to hairstyles. I had the drippy Jerry curl in the 80s, slinging that juice and staining couches and sofas all around my college campus, my grandmother's house. I have worn an afro and natural hair since I was born. And there's not a lot of things you can do with it. Sometimes I shave it off. I remember when I was pregnant with my oldest son, one day I just call it hormones, but I thought, I can't do this anymore. And I grabbed my husband's clippers and I buzzed my head. Imagine when he came home and he said, what happened? I said, I just got rid of the hair. And I went completely bald for a period. I remember taking my grandmother shopping, went to town, met her at her house, picked her up. She said, oh, I got to get something before we go. I said, what is that? And she said, here, put this on your head so people will know you are a girl. I was bald and I said, girl, look, I'm a girl. I said, if the pregnant belly and the 38Ds don't work, don't tell people I'm a girl, then they don't need to know. My grandmother slapped me, pinched me, got in the car, we went shopping, and I was still shining. Now, though, as I've grown, my hair, you see the big white patch, I've had this white patch, and I'm like, it's so easy. And I've embraced my gray, and I've embraced my naps. I am happy to be nappy. But if I were going to change anything, I would have one of those big, intimidating afros, and I would walk around with a real serious face. And when I see people, I would say, Jay, I would change the length. Thank you. Okay. I need an evaluator. Any volunteer? Jason, if you see people that are volunteering, give me a volunteer. Somebody volunteer.
Ella?
Ella?
Thank you.
Go ahead and evaluate. Thank you. And timer, you can time her for a table topic.
Overall, I love your passion and your energy. And it doesn't matter where I've seen you speak, anywhere I've seen you speak, you're always full of that energy. And me being at the opposite end of that spectrum, it's very uplifting to me to listen to you. Love your gestures, your body language. It was very much in tune with the content that you were delivering. You always have good volume. I think everyone can hear you, or at least I can very clearly. And your diction is extremely good. If anything, I would say maybe use your library voice from time to time for more of a contrast with that energy and passion that you deliver so greatly. I think being able to vary that volume a little bit more would also add more punch and more impact when you do put that energy in effect. But I also really enjoy your transparency. The way you're honest and you just put everything out there on the line. That is very refreshing, at least to me. That's how I would do my evaluation.
Get that girl a hand. Your check's in the mail too. Doggone it. So, of the tools that I mentioned previously, what did she do? Throw something out there, people. Well, I'm gonna go while y'all thinking about it. One, the first thing I noticed.
She
go
did
ahead.
show that she had understanding of the question right away. And then
Exactly.
she used her insight eyesight to make the
Yes.
point that you, as you did your gestures and you had your vocal variety, she made a comment then and put it into a perspective that said, do this instead of, well, could you change your vocal variety somehow? No, she gave you a specific item that you could do to use your library voice. So,
Yes.
and then she promoted you. She promoted you well. And again, I appreciate your energy and passion as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely, Ella, that was spectacular. I love that. I love that you did, and you use specific terms. Diction. Oh my goodness. And diction is so important. We have people in our clubs who have heavy accents. We have people in our clubs who are from different regions of the country. And so they pronounce certain things a little differently. The cadence may be different. But you mentioned diction. That just means speaking in a way that we understand. Library voice. I was like, ooh, that's colorful. And it means something to me. Vary the volume. I love that. Vary volume, or vary pace, or vary your cadence. Absolutely stupendous. Stupendous. Absolutely. Is there another person that wants to do an evaluation? Anybody?
I do, but I can't figure out how to raise my hand. So
Okay, well, no, holler.
Go
Raise
for
your
it,
voice.
Scott.
Can't raise your hand, raise your voice.
there we go.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, I can relate. First of all, you did have great gestures and body movement. I really appreciated that from the very outset, and particularly that you sustained it through it. A lot of times people will only have sort of one or two spots that they're thinking about it rather than really incorporating it all throughout it. And you did a beautiful job of incorporating it all throughout it. I particularly I thought you had an excellent use of pauses, and particularly for dramatic effect when you said, since I was born. That was a great thing that built up just that little bit of anticipation. They say that the number one thing in humor is timing. It was a good use of dialogue in your stories. I thought that was really strong. A lot of people will just tell stories and they'll say that somebody said something to them, but they'll just continue it in the third person. You actually brought up the voices of your grandmother, I believe it was, and your husband, and that really helps pull us into the moment. I also love the turn of phrase, happy to be nappy. That was fun. If I had one thing for just an awareness thing for you, this is something that's actually very specific to Zoom, is just being aware of where your screen is. You had sometimes that you opened your arms and your hands disappeared, so I couldn't see your hands. You can just be aware of where it is, seeing yourself on camera, learning where your boundaries are on the screen so you keep your hands within it. You can use depth in the camera to really get dramatic effect. And that's a particular thing that you could use, particularly to be able to incorporate the bigger hand motions. It seems exaggerated when you're doing it, but we all know when Toastmasters has been in a while, however much it feels like, it doesn't look like nearly as exaggerated as it feels. All in all, really enjoyed your table topics, and I look forward to hearing you speak again.
Fantastic, Scott. That was absolutely wonderful. I just dropped something. Thank you. Thank you so very, very, very much. We're going to move straight ahead. And again, one thing that these two evaluators did that was absolutely wonderful is that they used specific pointers and specific words and places where you can improve. Always be specific, because you only have 3 minutes in your meeting to make a couple of points. This is what you did great. These are what some areas that you may challenge yourself, and these are some areas where you may want to improve or to be more mindful of. So I think both of you, Scott and Ella, thank you. You did fantastic. Recapping, the Equipped Evaluator examines and edits their biases, their sensitivities, and the words that they're going to use to improve or to help someone else grow. They ask questions and quantify the needs and wants of their audience, of themselves, and of the speaker. These are basically the expectations that that person has to reach a particular goal for themselves, for the club, or whatever they're doing. You've got to ask those questions, quantify them, and if you can do it, do it. And if you can't, then consider, again, recusing yourself and saying, hey, I think this person here, this member would be a better evaluator for you. Is that okay? Understanding the goals and the roles of you as an evaluator and that person as a speaker. They're informing us, but they also have goals. So make sure that you're mindful of those. Eyesight is what you see, what you hear, what you feel. If it's a demonstration, it could be what you smell. If they're cooking something over in the corner, it's eyesight, what you saw. And use conjunctions. I love conjunctions. Because this, that, and the other, consider trying this. Because this is such a deep and detailed topic, consider making an outline or giving us an outline ahead of time. So lastly, promote, build up your speaker, elevate your audience. That's what we do, build better speakers. And that's what you will do as an equipped evaluator. I put this here, this particular slide I added because I saw that there is the Art of Effective Evaluation. It is a digital download at toastmasters.org. It's a part of the Success Communication series, I believe, and it is strictly digital. So you can print whatever you need or whatever you want. And you see that there is a fee for it, but this is a 2-hour presentation that includes certificates and documents and coordinator recognition pointers if you decide to do that in a workshop. But I just put that there just for you. And I think with that, Wilma, we've heard some of your questions because we are running on time. How are we doing, Grace? I should be done right now, right?
We are done. That was
All right,
fabulous.
thank you. I appreciate all of you. You have a great day and enjoy the rest of our TLI.